This film study video is going to be about Ravens safety Kyle Hamilton, but it's going to be slanted or coming at the talents and the performance that he had in 2022 from a different angle. To be honest with you, this video was born out of noticing some elements of Kyle Hamilton's play during the offseason. What I mean by that is, I should say his play during specifically the Ravens' final two games of the season. This film study is really going to focus on the Ravens' losses to the Bengals in Week 18 and the wild card game, and how Kyle Hamilton showed what he's capable of being in those two games by executing multiple techniques, impacting the run game, the pass game, forcing a turnover in the wild card game. Look, I'll briefly show a handful of plays from earlier in the season to just illustrate one type of play that I think Kyle Hamilton just simply shuts down by being lined up at nickel safety to the wide side of the field with multiple receivers to that side, two or three. He just simply shuts down one type of play. But the majority of this video, most of this video, will show how effective Kyle Hamilton was against the Bengals, playing out in space. For me, the term box safety is a very weird one to apply to him or any other nickel safety. The hash marks, hopefully I did my math right. If I did not, feel free to correct me. The hash marks in the NFL are a little wider than 18 feet apart. Drastically different than high school hash marks and even college hash marks, which I think are 40 feet apart. It's like 62, 65% of the time, something like that, I think the ball's on a hash. At least I remember doing a study as a coaching staff one year in high school that indicated that. Now, the game in college and the NFL might be different in terms of those numbers, but I suspect that it's at least greater than 55 or 58%. So, in any case, 2/3 of the time, or 60% of the time, if my number's anywhere close to accurate, there's like 23 yards of space from where the ball is spotted to the field. I guess there's actually a little more than that. I guess technically it'd be 29 yards. So the sideline to where the ball is spotted when the ball's on the other hash, that's a lot of field. That's a lot of space to cover. That's where Kyle Hamilton played in 2022. That's not a box safety. A box safety is a guy who's attached to the tackle box. That's where the phrase or the term box comes from. I reject that phrase or that term being applied to anyone who plays nickel safety. In any case, look, Kyle Hamilton played excellent out in space against the Bengals, who were just simply one of the NFL's best teams once again in 2022. Very easily could have made a 2 straight Super Bowls. Hamilton was a force against the run, where and then he really continued to impress me in coverage. When I was looking at film of David Ojabo, Tyus Bowser, and Odafe Owe for the last 2 or 3 weeks, I just kept noticing all the plays where Hamilton had an impact in Week 18 and the wild card round. He was asked to execute like 5 or 6 different coverages, in my opinion, and ran them near flawlessly. This video really occurred accidentally, like I was kind of alluding to a moment ago. I was focusing on the outside linebacker edge rush position, which certainly, garners a lot of attention and in some cases complaints by Ravens fans. We all want Justin Houston back. I accidentally ended up creating this video or realizing that I should, because I finally started to save plays and then realized how many times Kyle Hamilton was in great coverage and how many different techniques he was asked to execute. We're going to get the film rolling. Long lead in there. My apologies, and let me know if that was too long for you. Before we get to his play against the Bengals, I'm going to look at one play concept that I think Kyle Hamilton had immediate effect on. Bubble screens out on the perimeter. Look at all the now the Ravens are just not lined up well to this at all, in my opinion. Bubble screens out in that space, that attack that space out in there that you see spot shadowed. Granted, there is no Ravens defender there. You also have an inside linebacker, Patrick Queen, blitzing from the field. So, we just don't have numbers to deal with 3 players out here. Our third player that's going to be in pursuit here ends up being, I think it's Chuck Clark. Well, he's just too far away to deal with it. So we've killed ourselves by alignment here. But screens were an issue in the Bills game. Screens were an issue in 2021 under Wink. I think Kyle Hamilton was asked to do multiple things early, but by this game in Week 5, he had almost been phased out or minimized. He was playing 15 snaps a game from Week 4 against the Bills to Week 5 against the Bengals. I think he played 31 snaps in those two games. I think it was 17 and 14. By the time you see this play he's going to make here against the Panthers, he's just totally shutting down bubble screens, swing passes to the field. It's any outside concept. Could be toss, could be an outside zone play. Kyle Hamilton's going to defeat that block against a receiver. He just is. He's going to win that block. Hell, he's going to defeat that block against a lot of tight ends. Week 5, Marcus Williams gets hurt in the Bengals game. And that, to me, really helped Hamilton get more snaps. Now, he played some too high safety alignments early in the season. This is a little funnel coverage that the Ravens... No, I'm sorry, wrong one. Breaking on the tight end. Very similar to a play you're going to see against the Bengals a little bit later. This is the funnel coverage the Ravens play. Kind of a mirrored concept to both sides, even though Marlon's back is turned and his body positioning doesn't look the same there. But you basically have 3 over 2, trying to funnel these two guys in between these two defenders. And then again here you've got 3 over 2. Now the routes are different up the top side, but coverage-wise, they asked Kyle Hamilton to do this, and he was capable of recognizing that. But I think that coverage is a little bit more simple than some of the split field coverages the Ravens play. So let's get to the film of the Bengals playoff games, and hopefully I can convince you that if the Ravens get this level of play from Kyle Hamilton that they got against the Bengals in those two games, if they get that to start the 2023 season, they're going to be in an unbelievable position. Look, he was asked to execute a wide range of techniques. There's a very similar play to the one that I showed you against the Jets when I misspoke. Check him out again. I'll run it back. And he did so with efficiency and a real burst to break on balls in front of him, to the side, and just cover a lot of ground. And when you combine that with his ability to read plays, his immediate recognition of run pass, you just get a young man who, I think he was 21 during the season, but he played at a really high level against a Super Bowl caliber team two times in a row, 2 weeks in a row, in Cincinnati on both occasions. You got him breaking on throws in front of him and making tackles. Here you've got him forcing the fumble on a perfectly leveraged hit against Hayden Hurst along the sideline. And Hayden Hurst is a monster at this point. He's huge, big, powerful, fast. You saw the play against the Panthers early in the season. He's just physical on screens. When you're dealing with a blocker like you saw against the Panthers, he's going to win that matchup damn near every time. His ability to see the quarterback and have awareness of the routes developing to his outside, he's incredibly gifted physically. There's just no doubt about that, right? 6'4", 220, 225, whatever they list him as. His combination of size, burst, and fluidity is a very rare thing. Ravens are very blessed to have a player with that potential available at pick 14 last year in the draft. His awareness, recognition, and versatility, though, is what impresses me more than the physical gifts. His ability to see things, stay in his coverage area, and then react. He's got it's all one package, right? But the physical gifts, to me, while incredibly eye-popping, are matched by the mental capacity and the versatility that he showed, particularly in these two games. We're going to get to coverages that hopefully show his versatility. I was shocked at all the different things they did with him as I continued to watch film of Ojabo, Owe, and Bowser. Trying to prepare for a video that's going to be rather lengthy about the Ravens' edge defenders or outside linebackers. I was shocked at all the different coverages, all the different things I saw him asked to play. He can play cover 2 as a high safety. At nickel, he plays curl flat extremely well in cover 3, or any of the Ravens' quarters coverages that have him as a second level defender. He can play man. He looked a whole lot more comfortable later in the year. You see, these plays will cycle back through again, but you see the two plays. Look, Boyd beat him badly in Week 18. Damn near scored a touchdown. I don't think it was called a touchdown. Anything that's a change of direction move, he's less effective against, or not as impressive against. Let me maybe phrase it that way. Anything that's a direct move, a pressure cut, 1 foot, 1 step and go, a slant, an out, anything that's a direct cut, 1 cut and go, Kyle Hamilton's going to break on because he's got such great eyes on the quarterback and awareness of the routes that are, playing outside of him. And in a moment, you're going to see some 2 reps, I think, of man against Boyd. One of them he gets beat on, and the very next week in the playoff game, it's a direct route that Boyd's running. It's not a momentum or leverage to the outside and then cut back inside like the one in Week 18 where he got beat on. I think his ability to cover grounds on screens from inside leverage is rare. Here's the first that I'm talking about. You can see Boyd kind of coming to the outside and then bringing this back to the inside. Roquan Smith gets occupied, by an underneath cut from the bunch set, and Hamilton's beat. I mean, he's just clearly beat. Compare that to the coverage that you're going to see on a somewhat similar situation. Here's Boyd. There's Hamilton. You're not getting as much of a change of direction move by Boyd. Just a direct move, and Hamilton is in good position. He's got some safety help over the middle. But in any case, look, I suspect the Ravens were using Hamilton in multiple places as a key element. That's why I called this video the Rook, because he's that important. Trying to slow down Joe Burrow's processing. Am I saying they outsmarted Joe Burrow? No. But they changed coverages a lot. And that really tells you what the Ravens think of Joe Burrow. That they weren't just going to sit there in 1 or 2 or 3 coverages and make it easy for him. They had to make it difficult on Joe Burrow because he is that talented in terms of recognizing the defense, how they're lined up, and what coverage it probably is. I love this play, even though the ball ends up being targeted to the other side of the field. Watch him turn his back to the quarterback and immediately run out here into the flat, what I believe is cover 3 against trips. It's a somewhat unique version of cover 3, though, because you've got a safety dropping down, and you've got the nickel safety, Kyle Hamilton, running out, and then Marcus Peters, taking all of number 1 vertical if you're getting a vertical. You certainly have a lot of vacated space here, but Marcus Williams is reading the quarterback's eyes. I suspect that if Joe Burrow's eyes were looking this way, Marcus Williams would be flying, like you've seen him do on interceptions against the Saints and the Packers, I think, from 2021, before he came to the Ravens. I think Hamilton was a big part of trying to slow down Burrow's processing in these 2 games. I can't prove it. I'm not smart enough to be able to describe each situation. It's just a suspicion that I have because they used him so many different places. Because he's capable of executing so many different coverages, I think that gave Joe Burrow a split second more to have to process things. And you see checkdowns happening, or in those 2 games you saw a number of quarterback hits or even sacks that occurred because Burrow had to get to his 3rd read as opposed to first read, covered, 2nd read, open, boom. You would see him get to his 3rd read, and by that time the pass rush was often there. In some cases it was not. Look, I think they also did something really brilliant. I think they tried to entice Burrow into throwing some of the bubbles and the screens so that Hamilton could then break immediately on them. I can't prove that. It's a 3rd and 15, so it doesn't apply to the commentary necessarily here. This is the forced fumble that you're seeing, I guess, for a 3rd time at this point. Look, I think that Kyle Hamilton's intelligence, rare physical gifts, could end up disappointing Ravens fans in one way. He's a guy who has the potential to be a superstar. He just does. And I understand the desire for a lot of Ravens fans to say, hey, I want to see Hamilton as a too high safety. I get it. He is a safety. But I'm going to tell you that he might be so incredible as a nickel defender that we might not see him there as much as we want to in 2023. He's just that effective at so many things out there in space. I actually think his presence there alone kind of removes certain concepts from the offense. You're seeing him defeat a block here. I know you've seen this play, once already. I'm enjoying letting these plays cycle through a little bit more lately as opposed to just watch them one time. So let me know if you agree or disagree. But like screens that are out there, bubbles or toss concepts or plays where the running back has to bounce it, Kyle Hamilton kind of takes that away and makes it to. I mean, you got Roquan Smith running free, scraping over the top, which is a big part of it too. His ability to defeat blocks is superb. He's just a weapon at nickel safety. Do I think he can be effective as a free safety in the middle of the field? Definitely. Do I think he can play split field coverages? Yeah, I've shown you, 3 or 4 of those plays already. Do the Ravens need him to? I don't know. I think the Ravens need him where he impacts the game the most. And I don't think that is the same position on every play. I don't think it's the same spot in every threat that you get. I think that's why I use the Bengals film here to highlight Kyle Hamilton's versatility. The Ravens don't need him in any one place for the entire game because he can play everywhere. That's why I think he's like a rook in chess. He's capable of moving forward, backward, right, and left incredibly fast with accuracy. He can handle multiple techniques from play to play, and he'll make plays. Look, he didn't have a single interception officially in 2022 because the one in New Orleans got called back. Good. Let people target his area more. I want to see him targeted more out there. He was far more confident and capable late in 2022. And if this is the caliber of play he gives the Ravens at the outset of 2023, it's going to be difficult to say you want him moved out of that nickel position. Can anyone else on the Ravens roster come in at nickel and do what Kyle Hamilton could do? I don't think so. I'm going to say this now. I think he gets 2 turnovers early in the opening 3 weeks of the season. And if that happens, and he's playing out there at nickel often, and when I say often, I mean at least 40% of the time, and he can cause turnovers and be that effective against the run, against screens, the Ravens can almost dictate where the ball can't go. You set him to the field, you can say, hey, bring these concepts, these 2, 3, 4 concepts, you can't run them over here. It almost kind of limits the options that the offense has, kind of forces them to maybe go over into the boundary or forces them away from certain concepts that I've already mentioned. I would look for him to go between play and left safety and nickel a lot with a dose of middle of the field free safety, maybe 10, 12, 15% of the time. Something like a 40, 45, 15, something like that, if that math works. But look, Marcus Williams is so amazing in that role at free safety that, you want to use him there. And when you have Marcus Williams and Marlon Humphrey on that right side together, that's an amazing duo. That's an amazing pairing. Very rare to have 2 players of that caliber and that intelligence level and versatility and toughness playing on the same side. Is the left side of the Ravens defense, from a secondary standpoint, as accomplished? Not even close. Do they have as much potential? No. I mean, you're talking about Rock Ya-Sin and Kyle Hamilton being the corner safety, or Rock Ya-Sin and Geno Stone with Kyle Hamilton being the nickel to the field sometimes against 11 personnel. No, the left side of the Ravens defense looks far easier to attack. That's what I'm saying. When you got wide side to the defense's left, to the offense's right, defense's left, I think Kyle Hamilton should be playing nickel. Leave Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Williams over there to the right-hand side to the boundary. Let them handle whatever else is over there along with Patrick Queen or whatever inside linebacker set to the boundary. Try to make it to where teams do not have a good choice attacking to the field or to the boundary. I think there's definitely an imbalance between the right side talent, left side talent, and the secondary. It'll be interesting to see how the Ravens handle it, how they solve that problem, if you agree that there is one, I guess. I think they're going to move guys around more, meaning move guys from the second and third level more. Later in the year, Marcus Williams actually became a guy that they spun down to play curl flat on that right-hand side a lot more when they wanted to go cover 3, when they played a couple of particular coverages against the Bengals. The versatility of Kyle Hamilton that was shown here, hopefully, from Week 18 in the wildcard game, with the sprinkling of film from earlier in the year, but that versatility to me is a foundational element to this defense. And I don't think that there's any player on the roster, besides Marlon Humphrey, I don't think there's any player on the roster who can step down there at nickel and give you the type of range, explosiveness, awareness, tackling ability to dominate and win blocks behind the line of scrimmage, make tackles, and sack the quarterback. I don't know that anyone else offers that. It's going to be, hopefully, a benefit to the Ravens to move Kyle Hamilton around because he's shown that he can execute all of those techniques. Hopefully, I've proven it to you in this video that by the end of the season last year, he was playing at an incredibly high level. And personally, I thought he played well at the end of the year. I think I was aware of it in reaction videos and things that I said. But when watching the film lately of the Ravens' young outside linebackers, I became even more acutely aware of how well Kyle Hamilton played in those 2 games up in Cincinnati and how disruptive he was against a lot of the things the Bengals were trying to do. You guys let me know if you enjoyed the video. This was a accidental video that was born out of a film study for other players, so kind of impromptu and thrown together in a day. Appreciate you checking the video out if you listen this long. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you think other people enjoy this content, this film study commentary, and this style of video talking about Kyle Hamilton, please consider grabbing a link and sharing it out on social media to help this video get more reach. Hopefully Saturday morning I can have a live stream ready for you guys that's about Odafe Owe, Tyus Bowser, and David Ojabo, and how they can be utilized in 2023, along with a situational veteran pass rusher, which we all hope is Justin Houston. Appreciate you guys' time.